Well, hello everybody. Thank you for joining me tonight or today, whatever the time is, wherever you are. And this is our Expert in the House webinar. So, overall we run these every week. We're going to take a bit of a break with Christmas, but these are an opportunity for you to gather with some friends, or you could be just watching on your own. You could have friends in your lounge room. So wherever you are, or whether you're on your own or you've got people with you, I really welcome you to this webinar. So what I'm going to be talking about tonight is redox signaling molecules. Now, for a lot of you, it could be you're very new to this. In fact, it could be you're even here because you're wondering if your friends have joined a cult because they're talking about it a lot, and you're kind of curious as to how could this topic that you've never heard about have somebody's attention to the degree that it does. So what we're going to be talking about tonight is these messenger molecules that are made every nanosecond throughout the day, 24/7. The cells never stop making them, and they are critical, these redox signaling molecules, to us feeling better, looking better, living better, performing better, or maintaining where we're at. In other words, working preventatively with our health moving into the future. So, not all of you, but most of us are looking to, have these qualities as far as working towards our health. So it's redox signaling is the technology, and where I'm going to introduce you now to ASEA. So ASEA is the company that actually brought this technology to market. So it's all very well to have a technology, but there needs to be an application of how we could actually use it. So ASEA is a global organization that actually were successful in in making these molecules and stabilizing them outside of the body, so that they could actually get them into the marketplace so that we could supplement with them. And it's referred to as the greatest scientific health and breakthrough of our lifetime. That big statement, big statement. And there's a picture here of Dr. Gary Samuelson. He's one of 5 medical atomic physicists on the planet. And in his words, this technology has the potential to spearhead the greatest advances in health we have ever seen. And that's certainly been our experience of this. So just a little bit about myself. I started off in the beauty industry, and by the time I was 30, I moved into the health and wellbeing industry. I loved learning about how people could return to health or maintain health. I actually had a health challenge myself. That's where my passion or interest started, if you like. And along the way, I got introduced to personal development, and I discovered that, people's well-being, including my own, lived in that arena as well. I've always been a great networker. So if I discover something good, I'm going to tell people about it. So whether it's a good plumber, or a great restaurant, or a great movie, or great well-being technology, I'm going to share that with people. I love education. I could be constantly learning, really, and I am. And, sometimes I would love to dedicate even more time to education. I really love learning new things. I love learning about food and cooking, and I used to teach people all about food and cooking as well. And, of course, this is a picture here with my daughters. And they're very much a big part of my life. And also I'm interested in animals and their well-being. And on the weekend, I love to do a bit of gardening. So life looks really good here. And this, I actually took this photo with my daughters when I reached the rank of diamond, but it wasn't like that 4 years before. So 4 years before that, this is where I was. My financial well-being was challenged. I was actually at risk of losing my home, not my house, my home. My general well-being was challenged. I felt really stressed. I felt sad. I was lost. And basically, I felt like I'd lost my way and lost my purpose. And I hadn't been in that place before. I had joint damage that had been going on for 5 years. At that point, it wasn't healing. I had sun damage on my face, the kind of sun damage that normally you need to address it with some invasive procedures. My energy levels were not where I wanted them to be. I was used to being a high energy person. I was sleep challenged, so obviously that was contributing to my stress levels and the decline that I was experiencing in my health. And I was turning 60, and for the first time I started to look my age. So I'd never looked my age. I always felt much younger and looked much younger. And I was also, rather than an inspiration to my daughters, I was now a source of worry for them, and that troubled me greatly. So that was in, sort of leading into 2014. That is really the picture for me. And fortunately, in January 2015, somebody interrupted my day and invited me to check out this technology. Now, as a health practitioner, and by the way, as a health practitioner, I knew all the things to do to, repair joints and get better. But I wasn't able to fully recover like I had earlier in my life. So to me, it was like something's missing. There's like a piece of the jigsaw, and I didn't know what it was. So 2015, I was invited to check out the molecules. And, I get asked a lot to check out things to do with health. And, I was on holidays. So I thought, what, I'll check this out sooner rather than later. Expecting like, oh, yeah, that's great for you, not interested. And very quickly, within minutes, I started to get goosebumps. I believed and felt there was something here that was exciting and new, and something that, I wanted to learn more about very quickly. So that's what I did. I very quickly was joined in a webinar with some of the field leaders in the United States, and also the leaders here in Australia that's part of my organisation. They were in the States at the time, and I had a lot of questions, and over 2.5 hours I got all those answers. So, for those of you who are listening now, some of you could be, with a friend who's invited you to check out the molecules. Just know that, this could be one of the greatest days of your life. It certainly was for me. So, you could be in a similar place. Like, where are you right now? Do you need support? Do you have a health challenge? Or do you know somebody that has a health challenge? And it could be someone really near and dear to you. All of us have those situations in our own families. Do you want to live younger, longer? Like, we're meant to die healthy, but that's not what happens in the Western world. People get very sick, and that's the way we leave here. And, rather than just go to sleep one night and not wake up. Are you financially challenged? Are you in a place now where you're worried and concerned about where you're going to be either at retirement or just living now in the here and now? Are you looking for additional income and lifestyle? Like, for some people, an extra $500 a week, a month, or a week makes a massive difference. And others, it could be that you're not in love with what you're doing. 80% of people really don't like the work they do, and you want to start your own business, but without that risk and exposure. So you're in your own business, but you're not on your own. So wherever you are today, that's fine. Just listen to today's presentation or tonight's presentation from that perspective and just see what shows up for you. I really invite you to do that. So we're just going to talk a little bit about cellular health now. You know, we live and die at the cellular level. And for us to be healthy, all our systems need to be healthy, which means the organs that make up the systems, which means the tissues that make up the organs, which means the 75 trillion cells that make up the tissues, they need to be healthy. So if you want a healthy heart, you need to have healthy heart cells. So what underpins the 75 trillion cells in terms of their health is redox signaling molecules. Now, I was a health practitioner. I hadn't heard of it. And for you, you might not have heard of it either. This is a new category of science. Like they only discovered 20 years ago the role of redox signaling molecules. They're messenger molecules that are made in the cell every nanosecond of every day. And prior to the scientific understanding, science thought that redox signaling molecules was a waste product. So we have mechanisms in the cells called mitochondria. They produce the energy, the very precious energy called ATP. And at the same time, they spin out redox signaling molecules. So once thought to be a waste product, 20 years ago, science discovered that these molecules are foundational to cellular health. So what do? How does redox signaling molecules keep us well? Well, they're messenger molecules that are involved in protecting the cell, right? So a cell cannot communicate with the immune system. It's the redox signaling molecules that are able to communicate with the immune system and summons help when there's a threat to the cell. Redox detect damage to the cell. That happens every day. Every day we've got cells that are damaged and, you know, they're replicating out of control. And with sufficient redox, those cells are actually identified and the redox initiates repair. And if repair is not possible, then redox initiates replacement of that cell. So in other words, apoptosis or cell death is initiated by redox. Now, in the event that happens, then a healthy neighboring cell is instructed from the redox to divide and replace that cell. And that's going on every nanosecond of every day. All of that's going on at the cellular level. Now, another part of protecting the cell is redox signaling molecules are critical for activating antioxidants. And most of you have heard of antioxidants. You know, it was a bit of a new thing 20 years ago, but now everybody's aware of them. They either supplement with them or they, you know, consider adding in foods that are rich in antioxidants to their diets. But what's interesting is that antioxidants without sufficient redox are basically unemployed. Now, oxidative stress is the #1 health risk factor. So it's a bit like, you know, you're probably all familiar with rusting. Well, guess what? We rust as well. We rust on the inside and the outside, which is what wrinkles are and all that. That's just rusting. So we have a mechanism to protect us from that. So antioxidants are key to fighting this oxidative stress, to slow it down and, you know, even reverse damage and prevent damage. That's the role of the antioxidants. So your antioxidants are like, you know, imagine a light bulb. But a light bulb, there's nothing wrong with the light bulb. It's there and it's perfect. But without electricity, it's not going to be able to illuminate and do the job that it's designed to do. So redox signaling molecules is like the electricity to the light bulb. Now, we know through scientific testing that redox increases antioxidant effectiveness from 500 to 800%, and that's massive. So glutathione, for example, which is, you know, the master antioxidant, is potentiated by 800% when you have sufficient redox there. So really important that our antioxidants are able to help us in the protection at the cellular level. Okay, so we get that these molecules are made every nanosecond of every day in our body. They're made out of salt and water. I mean, we are 60 to 80% salt and water, bags of salt and water. So the body has a really efficient system where it takes salt and water and makes the redox signaling molecules. And we get now that, you know, their role is to protect the cell, detect damage, repair or replace, and also to activate antioxidants. So we get that. But so how come we need to supplement with them? Like, that was a question for me straight away. So what happens is we're supposedly born with enough redox, although, young children and babies who have things that are going on that are moving, that means they're not healthy, they respond beautifully to redox signaling molecules. But when we get to 13 and puberty hits, that starts the decline of redox. So what's interesting is that redox declines, which is what causes aging, because we're not designed to live forever, right? So the redox reduces about 10% every year. So by the time we're 40, our redox is down to 50%. Now, for those of you who are 40 or been 40 at some point, you kind of remember that, everything works the same as what it did when you're a 20-year-old, but we don't recover as quickly. We're starting to see the visible signs of aging, like our skin cells now, which when we're 20 turn over every 28 days. They may be turning over every 90 days now. So therefore, we're starting to see those visible signs of aging. And then, of course, the decline continues about 10% every year. So by the time you're 60, which is where I was when I was introduced to redox signaling molecules, I was down to 30%. So you imagine a corporation, a highly functional, successful corporation that start sacking their staff 10%, every decade. So you can imagine a corporation that's down to 30% staff. Things aren't going to be working like they used to. And that's where I found myself, which is why things weren't healing and why I was starting to really feel impacted by the lifestyle that I had participated in, especially over the previous 10 years. So between 50 and 60, I had a business where I worked very, very hard. I would go for days without sleeping because I could. That's the crazy thing. When, you have a strong constitution, you can actually work yourself into the ground. So I burnt myself out, and because also my redox was declining, I found myself in that very challenging place. Now, what else adds to that? I've already talked about the things that exacerbated that even more for me was the stress levels I was under, not getting sleep, environmental toxins, electromagnetic radiation, all those things. If you don't eat properly, that's another stress on the body. We're not just talking about emotional stress here. Now, what does that do? That further corrupts the mitochondria, which is the little powerhouse that makes these redox signaling molecules. So now you've got sick and sluggish mitochondria. So that's further adding to the stress of not having enough redox signaling molecules to keep you well. And by the time you're 80, you're down to 10%. So, things are really hard then in the body. So then ASEA, who are a cellular health company and who succeeded in stabilizing these molecules outside of the body. And I say succeeded because there were 4 pharmaceutical companies that tried to do this, and they had a lot of money to throw at it, and they were unable to stabilize the molecules. It's easy to make them outside of the body, but to actually give them a shelf life, they need to be stable. Otherwise, there's no you can't commercialize these wonderful molecules. So our visionary founder, Vertus Norton, he had a vision and a mission to do this, and he set out to achieve this. And after a year of working with Dr. Gary Samuelson, they achieved the impossible, and they launched redox signaling molecules in a liquid form into the market, and it all started in the United States. And by the way, we're now in about 35 countries, and the reason that is because people from country to country send the product to friends and family because they understand that they need it. So it all started with the drink, and then in 2014, so that's redox from the inside out, they then launched into the marketplace Renew 28. So that's redox from the outside in. So having it externally and to be able to apply it topically in a gel. And also there's a concentrated serum there, which is also from the outside in. Now, the thing about Renew 28 is like a head to toe. So I put it anywhere I can reach, and the more I use it, the more flexible I am. So just anywhere in the body where things don't look the same or feel the same and require healing, you would use your Renew 28. And then the serum is for spot treatment. So you could use that on your face. You can use it on things that are growing on your body that, you know, never used to be there and things like that. So that was launched in Australia in October 2014. We launched here with Renew 28, and thankfully now we also have access to the Redox drink. Now, to complement that, a couple of years ago, they brought out a cleanser and a moisturiser. Renew 28 is the best thing you can use on your face as far as skincare, but usually, you know, people use a moisturiser and a cleanser to go with that. So we have those complementing products. And then this year, we saw the launch of 3 amazing nutritional products, one being a food supplement, which of course is where we get our additional vitamins and minerals, because we know for a fact that we just don't get them enough from our diet. So we need to top those up. And then a gut biome, which is for improving your gut your gut biome. And then Life Max, which is an anti-aging formula with lots of herbs and amazing technology in that, which assists the body to utilize and uptake them. Because it's one thing to, you know, use a supplement, but you want one that's organic, so it's naturally sourced, and that it includes technology that allows for high uptake and utilization. Because A, you want the effectiveness of it, but B, you want the value of it as well. Right, now, some of you may not have had a redox experience. So at the end of this presentation, I really encourage you to have what's called a 3 in 5 redox experience. So what that means is you apply about a blueberry size of Renew 28, ideally to an area that's you've got some level of discomfort. So it could be a restricted range of movement. It could be, you know, some skin irritation. It could just something it could be a high level of discomfort to a low level of discomfort. So if you've got an area like that, what we know is when you apply Renew 28 to that area 3 times in 5 minutes, 9 out of 10 people will experience a significant measurable result. So, you know, it's all about having an experience. So if you're with somebody and you haven't experienced redox signaling molecules, then that would be the way I would suggest you do it. For those of you who want to check out the ASEA Via line, the way to wellness, you can go to this website, aseavia.com, and there's some fabulous reading and some great fact sheets on the product. Like these 3 products require a whole presentation on their own. You know, they're amazing nutritionals, and the results we've had are just been outstanding. So even for me, I've been on nutritionals for a long time, but I looked at these formulas, and even the ones I were on were synthetic based. These are food or organic food based, and that's obviously preferable to anything synthetic. So get over to that website and have a look. Now, what's really interesting is redox signaling molecules provide the labor. So this was why it proved such a missing link for me, because I was on a pretty good nutritional program, but I had insufficient redox. So redox is like the foreman and their team. So imagine with oxidative stress, that's a bit like, you know, you've had a fire in your house, so you've had a lot of damage. The first thing you want to do is bring in a foreman and his team, because what they're going to do is they're going to clean out all the debris and get rid of all the damaged materials of the house, which is what redox does as well. It detoxifies the cell. That's the first thing it does. And then the foreman and his team will then take the raw materials and do the rebuild, right? So you can have great raw materials there, but if you're missing a foreman and his team and you've got like an old man and a hammer, it's just not sufficient to get the job done. So redox provides that labor. And then the nutrition provides the raw materials. These are your building blocks. So obviously the better quality raw materials, the better quality cells are built. I mean, your body will rebuild cells with rubbish. So if you don't have a great diet, you know, the body will do the best it can. But obviously, good quality building blocks is going to give you a much better result long term, and even short term for that matter. Now, there's been quite a few independent clinical studies done. I'm going to refer here to a couple of studies that were done with Renew 28, Stevens and Associates, and Dermatest did these different studies. So the first one I'm going to talk about is skin cell renewal. So remembering that when we're 20, our skin cells turn over every 28 days, but you know, the older we get, the longer the skin cell turnover is. So in this 28-day trial, skin cells turned over 16% faster. So, you know, basically that's essentially, you know, anti-aging fountain of youth. And that was just in 28 days. So you can imagine with prolonged use that skin cells will, the skin cell turnover will be shortening. And that means healthier, younger cells. I like that idea because younger cells means everything's healthier. Then there was face, Renew 28 used on the face, and over a 4-week trial, was just used twice a day. There was a 23% increase in smoothness, a 23% reduction in the depth of wrinkles, and 20% increase in elasticity. Now, you know, it's things we lose elasticity on the inside as well as on the outside. So a lot of disease states have elasticity issues. So it's really good to be keeping the elasticity of things working optimally. And then another study was done on blood flow. So the question was asked was, does applying Renew 28 increase blood flow? Well, indeed it does. So over a 4-day period, skin blood flow increased on average by 50%. And after the first application, 10 minutes post-application, skin blood flow had increased by 49%. And, you know, as we get older, skin blood flow or blood flow slows down everywhere. So that means detoxification's decreasing, oxygenation isn't as good, nutritional aspects at a cellular level are also declining just because skin blood flow is declining. So increasing that is obviously going to help in a lot of areas, and which is why that 3 and 5 is so potent and such a great way to have a redox experience, because you're increasing blood flow as well. So then redox in your genes. Now, interesting, genes contain the blueprint of instructions for health throughout your entire body. And about 12 months ago, Dr. Robertson Ward, he's been fascinated with redox from day one. He uses it in his clinical practice in the United States. And he published a book called Healthy Cells, Healthy Life. And he refers to redox and the impact on our genes. And what's really interesting is that only 5% of our genes are fixed. 95% of our genes are determining our well-being. And, you know, some of you may know of the study of epigenetics. So that's all to do with genetic expression. So science shows that lifestyle factors like things we've mentioned before, daily stress, environmental toxins, you know, poor diet, all those things are disrupting our genes with catastrophic results. So if you or anybody you know has a challenge with the immune system or inflammatory responses in the body, so a lot of diseases end in itis because it's all about inflammation. If you or anyone you know has a challenge with their cardiovascular health or their digestion or hormone modulation, then in the book, Healthy Cells, Healthy Life, it talks about the impact of redox on all of these different systems in the body. So redox biochemistry affects key body systems and their functions positively, right? So sufficient redox turns good genes on increasing gene signaling pathways which restore health. So that's really important. You want the good genes on and the bad genes off. And unfortunately, along the way with lifestyle choices, poor lifestyle choices that we make, often they get switched around. But the good news is if you're at the cause of them being switched around, you can also switch them back again. And that's critical for your health and well-being. Now, Dr. Robertson Ward has also put together a website called the Redox Doc, and it's a great read for people who it could be a lay person or people who even have a medical or scientific background. It suits both types and everybody in between. So head on over to there and you can learn and read some great stuff on redox signaling molecules. So, this was really important to me. ASEA is a foundation built on a foundation of integrity. So through my experience, not only did I need to know that the product was safe and efficient, but also the people behind the product had a great ethos, and that integrity was that the whole company was built and worked on a foundation of integrity, because I've been involved with other companies and integrity was missing, and I knew that that was super important, because I thought this boat is going to awesome, and who are the people behind it? Do they know what they're doing? Do they have the business experience and the integrity to safely get this boat to where it needs to go, the ship actually? So here we've got Verdis Norton. He's our visionary founder, and his son Tyler, and of course Dr. Gary Samuelson, who worked with Verdis on stabilising the molecules. Now, I flew to the States to meet these gentlemen, and I, in 4 days, was just blown away with not only with the type of people they were. I actually got that this company has a heart and a soul. And Verdis Norton was known in the corporate world as a business strategic genius. And you can Google him and learn a lot about him. So I knew that we were in fantastic hands. This person knew what he was doing when it comes to the health of ASEA as a business. He mentored many Fortune 500 CEOs after retiring at 56 as a vice president of Kraft Foods. And in his 60s, he was introduced to a biotech company who discovered the role of redox signaling molecules and was working with it. And after 10 years of investing millions of dollars, they found themselves in a difficult place financially. And Verdis was brought in to see if he could assist them to trade their way out of it. And that's when he had a redox experience. And unfortunately for that company, they weren't able to trade out of it. They needed to liquidate. And that's when Verdis got that he wanted to take on getting these molecules to the world and working on stabilizing them. So he actually raised the capital and bought the existing patents and the research that had been done. And that's how really ASEA came to be a company that's launched redox signaling molecules into the marketplace. So he had a vision and a mission, and it's really interesting that when you have a vision and a mission, if it's strong enough, you too can achieve the impossible. And that's what this incredible man has done. And yes, it's working. These are all 28 days results with Renew 28. So when they launched Renew 28 into the marketplace, they put out an invitation for people to use it for 28 days with their before and after photos. So you can see some significant changes here. And I'm just reminding you, it was in 28 days. They would have just applied it twice a day because that's all we knew to do. And you can see some incredible results, including scars and lots of rusting on the outside, because we're looking at the outside here because it was Renew 28. This is one of my favorites. This is Rosie. So she was introduced at the age of 84 to Inside Out and Outside In. And It's really important to take before and after photos, and Rosie's a classic example of this. So you can see at age 84, she's got some significant aging going on there. And 7 weeks later, her son rang her and said, you know, how's it going on the redox, Mum? She said, oh, I can't really see any difference. And he said, well, get the gardener to take a photo on Friday and send it to me. So she did that. He sent it back side by side. And she's like, oh, my goodness, I can't even believe that I looked like that 7 weeks ago. But you know what? She's looking in the mirror and she couldn't see it. So often we find that with people. So we really encourage you to take before and after photos of anything you're applying redox to, which is the Renew 28 on the outside. And you can see at 86, she's just getting younger. And there she is at 87. And that's the thing, when I fly to the States every year, you know, I see people, you know, a year later and a year later, and each year I see them, they just look younger to me. So I know that she has sold her house and moved to Florida, and she's absolutely having a ball. So it's so wonderful to see quality of life being there for people with this amazing technology. So what is it we've been talking about tonight? We've been talking about redox, which is cell signaling molecules. That's what it is. Be good if I can get my mouse to work. Sorry about this. What is it? What does it do? Well, it optimizes cell communication for health. So nothing happens in the body without redox signaling molecules. Everything's dependent on these messenger molecules being available in abundance. And why do I need it? Because our cell function is breaking down. It's as simple as that. As we get older, cell functions are not working the way they were designed to, and then things start to go wrong in the body. So here's our 3 redox signaling molecules products. You've got the drink from the inside out, and then you've got your 2 outside in products. So where do you see yourself? Well, there's 3 ways to look at introducing redox signaling molecules into your life, and there's no right or wrong way. You can be a consumer, where you set up an account as a preferred customer and you can just order your product wholesale and have access to the molecules at the best possible price. Now, when I looked at these molecules, I didn't know whether they'd work or not. I established that they were safe, that there wasn't going to be any cause of danger to my body. So when I set up my account and ordered them in, I went through door 2, because I thought, if these are what they say they are, I'm be letting people know about this. So I set up an account as an associate. It cost $60, best $60 I've ever spent or invested. And I became an associate, and I ordered my product in wholesale price, the same as a preferred customer, but it meant that I would be able to share it and sponsor people and get some thank you money for doing that. And also we have a fabulous loyalty program, loyalty rewards program, and there's more points as an associate. So it wasn't a big, I didn't have to, invest a lot of time thinking about that. That number 2 was the obvious one for me. Now, number 3 could be that you want to become an entrepreneur and create a lifestyle income, which could be 10,000, it could be more, it could be way beyond that. So really the sky's the limit here. And if you're thinking, well, I'm not an entrepreneur, the good news about this type of business is that you learn as you go. So you learn to be an entrepreneur, and all of that is just part and parcel to this business. You get all that mentoring and learning. For the most part, it costs you nothing. And thank goodness today with the internet, we have access to so much learning online that's free. You just got to invest your time and your commitment to it. And we get to work with amazing people who share their wisdom, and they've gone before us. So they've learned things before us, so then they're able to hand that down, and you learn as you earn. So I don't know any other way out there in anywhere in the world that you have this opportunity. So for those of you who are interested in residual income, door 2 will lead you to door 3 if that's what you want to do. So really, you have all those choices. So, we're here tonight. I'm here tonight. You're here tonight with me because of this incredible man, Vertus Norton. And I really encourage you to go to the AseaGenesis.com. It's a 16-minute YouTube where you'll hear Vertus tell his story. And, that's just one of many stories, but that's called the Genesis of ASEA. And I'd love you to get a sense of who Vertus is, and you will get that on that video. And when Vertus retired at 79 in 2015 at the conference, these were his words when he was on the stage for the last time at the conference. And he said, "We are all at the start of something big with great purpose. And right now is the moment that we begin influencing the future, and we can change the world." And sometimes it's pretty overwhelming about being able to contribute and make a difference. But you know what? It's just one person at a time. The old starfish story. So always remember that, because I know sometimes when I get overwhelmed with lots of things that are going on in the planet, I just know I just need to focus on helping one person at a time. And that's how things change. That's how, I can make a difference. And so there we have Vertus. So I'm just going to stop the share, and I'm just going to see, just going to see if there's any questions. There we go. So we haven't got any chats coming. So I can stay on for 5 minutes. If anybody has a question they want to ask, just pop it into the chat box. Ask any question you want. I may not be able to answer it, but I probably can. And if I am not able to answer it for any reason, I will tell you where you can go and get that answered. So no, we've got a very quiet session tonight. I think with Christmas, many people will be up to other things tonight. But the good news about this, these Expert in the House, they're all recorded and they're all saved on a website, which can't quite remember the website, but just find out from the person who invited you. You'll be able, there's many, all the Diamond leaders, all of their presentations are all stored there, and I go and listen to them. They're great to even to have somebody join you, and you can watch one together. So because they are recorded, you've always got access to them, which is super awesome. Well, it looks like you're all pretty quiet, so I'm going to bid you not only farewell tonight, but I'm going to, wish you all a super Merry Christmas and a very powerful 2019. Get back to the person who invited you here tonight, if that's why you're here, and ask them questions. And if the good thing is, if they don't know the answer, they know where to go to get those answers for you. So get all your answers done. That was important to me. And, I just want to say that when my gel arrived, I started using it twice a day on areas that weren't healing. And within 2 to 6 weeks, I had significant changes in how I looked and how I felt. And things changed that I wasn't even expecting. For example, I had a chronic knee injury, so I was putting Redox Renew 28 on my knee. And I had, for 10 years, I'd worn tights during summer because I had some pretty ugly veins in the backs of my legs. And somewhere in 6 weeks, they went, because I don't look at the backs of my legs very often. And I just happened to have a look, and they were gone. Now, I wasn't expecting that. That was a wonderful surprise. I wasn't expecting sun damage to disappear off my face. within, 6 weeks. I had people asking me 6 weeks in, had I been to Thailand and had some face work. So I knew that was the redox working. And, that just means that rusting was being repaired. So that's the beauty of seeing depth of wrinkles and those kind of things changing where you look younger. I mean, the beauty of that is, that that's the redox working, that's the redox repairing cells. So obviously if cells are functioning like they did when you were younger, you will look younger. And, I'm constantly surprised and delighted with the results that I experience daily with people. And, often I share tears with people, and it's tears of joy when they, are able to share the healing that they've had as a result of the redox. And, I say, look, we get paid in goosebumps. So it's a wonderful business. I've had several traditional businesses. I would never want to do that again. It's very hard to get leverage in a lot of businesses. And so, residual income is not so easy. This truly is residual income because you can leverage your time. Otherwise, you need to have a lot of money in the bank to be able to create a residual income that way. So, Merry Christmas, everybody. And I look forward to seeing you in 2019. Good night.